Hi guys. So today we'll understand what is constructor. So this is very important concept as per programming point of view. Okay, and it is important in every programming language, whether you learn C, C++, Java, doesn't matter. Constructor is very important. So we have to understand the concept regarding the constructor very deeply. Okay. Now let's start with the definition of the constructor. Constructor is a method. It's not a general method, it's a special type of method, and whose name is same as that of the class name. Whenever you find any program written in Java or any languages, check it for the method whose name is same as that of the class name. That method is considered as a constructor. If you find any method whose name is same as that of the class name, it is a constructor. That's all. So we have to remember this statement. This is a very important statement regarding the constructor. And second very important thing about the constructor, it is used to initialize the object. We cannot initialize the object without constructor. Understood? And during the initialization we use the new keyword. We all know, if we want to create the object, okay, we have to use the new keyword. Understood? And whenever create any object in a particular class, a compiler called one constructor, and that constructor is known as the default constructor. Okay, so whenever we call any object, whether we provide the constructor or not, so it is the duty of JVM or compiler to automatically add a constructor, and that constructor is known as the default constructor. Okay, if you didn't provide any constructor to the class. Okay, now constructor does not contain any return type including void also. Okay, we cannot write int as a data type, or we cannot write void as a data type uh, during the constructor creations. No, we cannot write, because a constructor does not create any return type. Understood? Now it is the call constructor because it constructs the value at the time of the object creation. Why we call it as a constructor? Because whenever we create any constructor, it creates the object of a particular class. Okay, so that is the very important, since it is doing the work of constructing, it is doing the work of constructing the object and initializing the object. That's the reason we call it as a constructor. Next is, it is not necessary to write a constructor for a particular class. Okay, if we didn't provide any constructor to the class, JVM or compiler will automatically create a class and add the class to the program, and that the added constructor is known as the default constructor. Okay, so we have to remember this thing. Now we have a type of constructor in Java. We have a default constructor. So a constructor which does not have any parameter, and compiler call itself if we didn't provide it. Understood? Okay, if you forget to provide any constructor at the time of the writing the Java program, okay, so Java compiler automatically add a constructor to the program, and that constructor is known as the default constructor. Okay, now a parameterized constructor, a constructor which has parameter. Parameter means what? Maybe int value, maybe string value. Okay, so integer value, string value, these are the parameter. When we just create the object and we pass the parameter to the constructor, that constructor becomes the parameterized constructor. Understood? We'll do coding related with the parameterized constructor and all other constructor also. Okay, now copy constructor. So copy constructor is also somehow a parameterized constructor, but we didn't provide here any string values or integer value. In spite of that, we pass the object reference as a parameter. So whenever you pass any object reference as a parameter in the constructor, then we call it as a word copy constructor. Remember this thing. We pass the object reference as a constructor, as a parameter in the constructor. It is called the copy constructor. Now, last is private constructor. A private constructor which is used to restrict the object creation. Understood? So we know that constructor is basically used for the object creation. Now I'm saying that private constructor is a constructor which is used to restrict the object creation. Because in Java, if we declare any constructor as a private, so we cannot access the methods and functions written inside that class. Why? Because it's whenever we can declare any constructor as a private, then its object are only accessible from within the declared class. Understood? We cannot access the object outside the constructor class. Okay, so in Java we didn't write any constructor as a private. If we write any constructor as a private, so it will restrict the object creations process. Understood? In spite of all that, we have a private constructor. If we want to use the private constructor, we can. If we want to use the private constructor, we can. But Remember guys, whenever we declare any private constructor as the private, then its object are only accessible from or within the declared class. We cannot access the object from outside the constructor class. Okay, so this is all about the theory regarding the constructor. So we have to remember this constructor. Now we'll understand each constructor in a programming way. Okay, so let's start the programming. Okay guys, so see, I have created a one student Java class file. So we'll see both default constructor as well as the parameterized constructor, along with other two also, copy constructor and the private constructor. So let's start with the default constructor. So we'll write here default constructor. So we'll create a one constructor here with student name, and to check whether it is working or not, we'll pass one sysout, and inside the sysout we'll write, hi, my name is Ram. Okay, fine. Okay, so I have passed one message. If this message is coming as output, it means constructor is working fine. Okay, now to access this constructor, we have to create an object. Okay, object of this class, that is the student class. Now what we have to do to create an object, first of all we have to create the main method. So we'll create the main method, and inside the main method we'll create the object. We'll create object. Okay, so for creating object, we'll write the name of the class, that is the student, and as is the object name, and we'll write the new is used to create the object, and then we'll write the constructor, that is the student. It is used to initialize the object. Okay, so I've created the student class, and I have also created the object also and initialize also. Let us save this program, and if this message is coming as output, it means constructor is working fine. Understood? Let us check. So run this program. Okay, hi, my name is Ram. It means output is coming as a message what we have passed inside this out. It means constructor is working fine. Okay, now we'll see the parameterized constructor. Okay, so inside this program I'll create the parameterized constructor. So but before this we have to just comment this all. Okay, now we'll see the parameterized constructor. So for parameterized constructor, I'll write here parameterized constructor. Now we'll create one constructor where we store the value of the ID and name of a student. Okay, so inside it we'll create one constructor. Okay, so we have to create the first, we have to take one integer ID as an integer data type, and name as a string data type. Okay, so this is completed. Now we have to create a one parameterized constructor. So for creating the parameterized constructor, I have to write the name of the class, and the name of the class is what? Student. Name of the class is the student, and inside it I have to pass the parameter in the form of integer and the string that we have declared here, ID and name. Okay, so I'll take int I and string n. Okay, why I have taken the int I and string n? I stored the value of ID in I and stored the value of name in n. Okay, so for that I have to write, I'm storing the value of ID in I variable, and I'm storing the value of name in n variable. Okay, so inside the parameterized constructor I have declared the ID and name. Now I have to create the method. I have to create the method to display the values. For creating the method to display the value, see, I am writing. Okay, now I am creating the method to display the value. Okay, so method to display the value, it means I have to create the one method. So I'm creating a method of void, okay, void display. Understood? And inside the void display, I'll pass one sysout. Okay, and inside it I'll print the name, I'll print the value of ID and name. For that I'll write the ID and then plus, must be some separation, and then we'll write the name. Understood? Okay, so ID and name is displayed to x now we have to create the main method, and we have to create the object and pass the values of student 1 and student 2. The value must be what? The ID and the name of a student. Okay, Now we'll create the main method, because main method. Okay, and to inside the main method I'll write the main. Okay, main, create the object. Okay, so I'll write create the object, and inside it I'll create the object. So write student s1. S1 is the object name for student 1, and we'll write new keyword is used to create the object. We'll write now constructor, that is the student. Understood? And inside the student will pass the value, that is the id and the name. For id I'll write the 45, and for the name I'll write ram. Okay, understood? So I'm storing the value for the two students, so I have to copy this line of code and paste it 2 times. Okay, change the name as s2 as object for the student 2, and name as what? Sam. Understood? And id is 12. Okay, so I have created, see, in this code I have created a one parameterized constructor, id and name, and now I've created the one parameterized constructor with the student name. Okay, and where I pass the parameter as id, okay, and name. So I'm storing the value of id in I, and I'm storing the value of name in n. I've now created the method to display the value. So I've created the method that is with name display, and inside it I'll write the sysout, where we write the where we display the value in id and name. Okay, inside it created the main method, and object is created. Okay, now since object is created, I have to call the method. Which method? Display method, with the help of this object. Okay, so we'll write s1 dot method name. Method name is what? Display. So I have to call for the second student also. So for second student I'll write the s2 dot display. Okay, it is showing, okay, it is showing error because this two must be in the inside the main method. Understood? Inside the main method. Okay, so inside the main of the output, so since object is created, pass the value, method is created. Okay, and call the method also. Okay, now save this program. We'll check whether it is working or not. Save this and run a Java application. Okay, see, 45 and ram. 45 is the id, and ram is the name of a student 1, and Siam is the name of the student 2, and id is 12 for the student. Okay, so this is a parameterized constructor, where constructor take the parameters, whether it is in the form of integer or a string, it's up to you. Okay, so it will take the parameter as the integer and a string. Okay, so okay. Okay, so now I'll tell you about the next copy constructor and the private constructor in the next lecture. Okay, so if you find this video very useful to you, okay, so I request you to please subscribe the channel, and and if you have some any doubt related with this constructor, you can put in the comment box. Okay, so till then, keep studying. I'll meet you in the next lecture. Thank you.